What's going on, guys? United Gaming back with another MLB The Show 20 video. And in this video, we are going to be doing the National League Central and the National League West finals predictions. I just wanted to cram them both into one video since the reveals do start tomorrow. And I wanted to make sure you guys got all of my predictions. We are going to be spending less time on each team, but we do have a comparison card for every single one. So let's get into it. First up is the Chicago Cubs, and my pick is Yu Darvish, best player on the Cubs by far. The ERA just a tad over 2. Has a lot of pretty good pitches. He has 3 different fastballs plus slider and a curveball. He got really good break, and he's got some good hits and Ks per 9. So let's get into the comparison card. The comparison card I went with 99 Corey Kluber. Low home runs per 9, very similar to Darvish's Live Series card, with maxed out break and pretty decent velocity out there, along with good hits and Ks per 9. Honestly, Kluber and Darvish do look very similar together, and the Kluber, who's just been a force since day one of the game, could look similar to what we could see a finest Yu Darvish look like. So the first team, Chicago Cubs and Yu Darvish. On to the next team. On to the Cincinnati Reds, and also my pick for the Cy Young Award is Trevor Bauer. Almost 100 hits and Ks per 9, which is really good for a live series. Maxed out break with not the greatest velocity in the world and not the greatest control, but he is still he's still a force to be reckoned with. So let's get into the comparison card. The comparison card I went with is Carlos Carrasco, the 99 overall card. Now, I feel like break maxed out in 85 velo does seem pretty accurate for what we could see from a possible Trevor Bauer. I imagine the hits per 9 and Ks per 9 will probably be very high, around in the 115s. Home runs per 9 is going to be lower. Pitching clutch is likely going to be lower, and control is likely going to be lower as well. But I feel like for the velo and break, I feel like that's a good representation of what we could see a Trevor Bauer card look like. On to the next team. The next team, we got yet another pitcher, and it is Corbin Burns of the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, this card, I already have a comparison card set in stone. As soon as I saw the pitches and it's just some of the attributes, I'm like, perfect, he fits perfectly. So let's just hop right into the comparison card. Now, I think Oral Hershiser is a perfect comparison card for Corbin Burns. The only thing that I think is going to be different is the control. I imagine it's going to be a lot lower. It's going to be probably around 70 instead of 87. And the pitching clutch will also likely be lower, but the break is the velo also is going to be higher. But I feel like for the pitches, I feel like we'll see those exact pitches in a Corbin Burns card. So let's go on to the next team. First actual position player, and I decided to go with the Pittsburgh Pirates, Colin Moran. Now, every one of the Pirates, I'll be entirely honest, it was kind of terrible this year. So it was pretty difficult picking a card. But Colin Moran kind of stood out. He was kind of he was a decent offensive bat for them. Defense is obviously not good, but let's just hop right into the comparison card. I went ahead and chose Jose Abreu. I think some things will definitely be different. I feel like the contact will be pretty balanced. I feel like it'll be 100 both sides, and the power of his lefties will also be lower along with the fielding, but that 125 power will likely be on a Colin Moran card. So we're going to move now on to the final team in the National League Central, and that is the St. Louis Cardinals. I decided to go with Paul Goldschmidt, and yes, if they give it to him, it will be his 3rd Diamond of the year, but no one on the Cardinals either was really that good. Even though they made the playoffs, they were not good. They were not just a good team. So Paul Goldschmidt is kind of the outlier on that team. Goldschmidt, of course, is a great bat over there at first base. Not good fielding, not good speed. He's in there for his bat. So let's get into the comparison. The comparison card I went with is 99 Prestige, Buster Posey, Prestige specifically. The stats versus lefties, I feel like Goldschmidt's a better lefty hitter, so the stats against lefties will likely be very high. I also imagine that the contact versus righties, along with the power versus righties, will also be higher, and obviously the fielding will be a lot lower over there at first base for Paul Goldschmidt. So that's going to finish out the National League Central. My picks were Yu Darvish, Trevor Bauer, Corbin Burns, Colin Moran, and Paul Goldschmidt. Let's move into the National League West. First up is the Arizona Diamondbacks, and my pick is Zach Gallen. Once again, no one on the Diamondbacks was incredible. They were a pretty bad team this year, but Zach Gallen was a very good card. Incredible break, not the greatest velocity. The control, the walks per nine are pretty low as well, but the hits per nine are good. So let's run into the comparison card. My pick for the comparison card was Greg Maddox. Obviously, great break. I think the velo will obviously be a little bit higher. Not too much. Good hits per nine. I feel like Greg Maddox and Zach Gallen are pretty similar cards. The pitches obviously are going to be very different, but I feel like the per nines will look kind of similar to this Greg Maddox card. On to the Colorado Rockies. Rockies were also a pretty bad team, but I had to go with Trevor Story. I know he already has a headliner card in the game, but he was just so good for Colorado that he can't be ignored. Incredible fielding, incredible speed, incredible hitting. He's just a complete package. So let's just hop right into the comparison card. My pick for the comparison card is 98 Ozzie Albies. I think the righty stats are perfectly on point. I feel like the only difference in the left-handed stats will be the power. I think the fielding will be exactly that. I feel like the arm strength will be a little bit higher, and so will the speed. But Ozzie Albies, this postseason Ozzie Albies, and Trevor Story are going to look very similar together. On to the next. So the next card is Mookie Betts. As you can see, he can't hit a lefty to save his life, but those stats versus righties are very good. So it is impossible for me to find someone like this card in the game that is a high overall. So I decided to combine two different cards to show what a high overall finest Mookie Betts could look like. So we're going to go first into the first card now. The first card I chose is only going to be his right-handed hitting side, and that is Jim Thome. I feel like the right-handed hitting will be maxed out. It will be 125, 125. I just picked Jim Thome. I mean, I'm sure I could have found someone with 125, 125 against righties. I don't know why I picked Thome, but that he's just going to have maxed out against righties. So let's go into the other card that will be showing all of his other stats. And that card is the postseason Kevin Keetermeyer. I feel like that'll be his lefty hitting stats along with vision. The fielding will be absolutely incredible like this Keetermeyer's, and the speed will be pretty high, probably closer to 70, not as much 86. So let's move into the next team, which is the San Diego Padres. Obviously, you could go with Tatis. You could go also with Manny Machado, but I chose Dinelson Lamet mostly because Machado has a flawless reward, and Tatis already has that monthly awards card, so it's definitely not Tatis. But this card could make a really good one. His live series almost has maxed out velo and break, which is very good for live series. Not great control, very bad home runs per nine. But let's just throw us right straight into the comparison card, and it could be a good one. The comparison card I chose was Garrett Crochet. Yes, I know he's a reliever, but I feel like this will show us what a Dinelson Lamet card could look like, everything but the stamina, of course. I feel like incredible hits in case Brian will be there. The control will likely be a lot lower, along with the home runs per nine. Home runs per nine will probably be like 80, I want to say, maybe 75. The control will probably be down there at 70. Actually, no, his live series does have 69, so 78 is pretty reasonable with maxed out velo and maxed out break. It could be a very usable starting pitcher if they give him like a cutter or something, because right now it doesn't look like the best card, but it could be a good one. And we're going on to the final team, which is the San Francisco Giants. My final finest pick is going to be Mike Yastrzemski is my final finest pick. I've done every single team, and Mike Yastrzemski will be rounding it out with the San Francisco Giants. As you can see, Yastrzemski, incredible glitchy left-handed hitter with pretty good stats against lefties as well. He also has pretty decent fielding out there in right, and average speed. So let's get into the comparison card. The comparison card I chose, now there's a lot of flaws with this, is Mike Trout. See, I think this is what I think the right-handed stats will look like. Obviously, I feel like this is what the hitting will look like. The fielding and speed are a whole nother mess, but I feel like this is what the hitting on a Mike Yastrzemski card could look like. Probably not as juiced as Trout, but it will still be pretty juiced. Fielding is probably going to be down there around 80, arm strength around 70, and the speed around 60. Those are just a bunch of predictions. So I hope you did enjoy this video where I predicted the NL Central and the NL West. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Brave Support the channel. I will be debuting some of these new players when they come out. I will be getting them very shortly with exchanges, obviously. So I'm Unite Gaming. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.